One of the most common arguments I hear against the Bible is when people always say that, why do you believe the Bible is just a book, or why do you believe this just because this book tells you? And then people will say, where else besides this book, do you hear this? Um, shouldn't we have multiple authors or multiple books to tell you, this before you believe it? And then we look at, history. Whenever we learn about history, it's passed on the same kind of way. The only reason we know George Washington was the first president is because it was written down by people who were eyewitnesses. And this is the same thing with the Bible. A lot of people think the Bible is just one book, but honestly, the Bible wasn't put together all at the same time as one book. The Bible is 66 different books, all by different authors that were written at different times. And then they were all compiled together once they saw that all these stories were actually interconnected. So these were connected, these were different books that were collected from different places and different times and different people, and then put together almost 500 years ago. So we have to remember that the Bible is not just one book, and it's not just like, one person wrote it all together, or these people sat down all at the same time together. But, these books were still interconnected, even with this long period of time. These people were still able to come to the same consensus. Isaiah, writing as a prophet, was speaking about Jesus. If you read in Isaiah 53, he speaks about Jesus years before he's even here on the earth. So, the prophets and all the Old Testament people, all the people from the Old Testament were speaking about Jesus and testifying about the Messiah way before he came, thousands of years before he came. And now, he has came and he died on the cross for our sins. And it's important that we understand that history is a legitimate form of knowledge. And so whenever we read the Bible, we simply read it as history, because as you see with any other history book, you have real places, real people, kings and kingdoms, and at a real time. And through archaeology, we have found many different pieces of the puzzle that match with the Bible. Different things, King David was a real person. King Solomon was a real person. Pilate, the one who had Jesus crucified, was a real person. And we found artifacts that have verified this. The tomb of Joseph that Jesus was buried in was a real tomb. So all these things have been found through archaeology, and this all connects to let us know that the Bible is trustworthy. It's real history. And then you have the New Testament. You have the New Testament apostles who all were spreading this message and willing to go to death for this message. So there's no other history. There's no one that died for you to know that George Washington was a president, but you still believe it. You still believe it off the words, even though we don't have any video footage of it. We don't have any video footage of even slavery, but we believe it happened because of the eyewitness testimony that's been passed on. We have to keep the same kind of trust that we have for all kinds of history and transfer that to the Bible, because there's nothing that should negate the Bible from being accepted as normal history, because that's all it really is. It's a history book, but it's the history of the world and mankind itself. Something to think about.
Do take good care of yourself.